Worst lore in modern gaming. I know this is about Siege.
Lore and gaming go together hand in hand. There's something about having a good story or history tied to what you're playing that can make it infinitely more interesting.
Not much
good lore
the Prime.
can elevate a game to a legendary status, whether it's given through detailed evidence that gets the player.
I like with FNAF, the gameplay is just so basic. But the lore literally just gave it the entire following it has today.
Are more immersed in the game's world, or through cryptic clues that add fuel to their imagination. If you already enjoy a game and find out it has good lore behind it, chances are you'll enjoy it even more. But bad lore can make you not want to play a game at all. With Hello
I don't... Please show the tweets.
Neighbor being the best
Please
example.
show the tweets.
A game that's lore
Show
and
the
story
tweets.
was terribly written and conveyed, forever
Yes! Yes!
staining the...
It's so bad. It's so... You know the worst thing is as well? Everyone on Twitter, I've noticed, is getting like so sick of the tweets of like when there's something like fat and then they tag me in it. Like I think everyone's getting sick of it now. I never signed off on anyone doing that, by the way. But like I'm noticing that people are doing this when they see something that they want to tag me in. It's like, I believe Pyrocynical is going to enjoy this.
reputation
It's so cringe. One like in 14 hours. That's grim.
of a once fairly anticipated game. The gameplay was bad too, though. Lore is not necessary for a game to be good. There have been dozens of titles with no lore that have been amazing, and
I share reels too every day. Is that why my reels are so cooked?
no one's going to hate a game for not including it. However, if a game does choose to
Is he not gay? Didn't he come out on Twitter? Are you on about that picture where I kissed Chad Roberts on the lips? That's like a bit me and him have. Okay, that sounds like cope. But no, literally, it is like a bit that me and him have. Like, once we meet every year.
include lore
Because that's what I did when I appeared on the podcast with him in makeup for the first time.
in its experience,
No, I know. No, everyone's going to say it's cope.
it
Everyone's going to
must
say
be
it's cope.
done right. Otherwise, you're better off not including it at all. Like a supplement, lore can serve to elevate its game. But if it's not thought out well, it can quickly pull the title down and affect people's perception of it. With shooters, lore is often conveyed through campaigns and PvE game modes. Just because your game is mostly online doesn't mean it
The Battlefield campaign was actually so good, though. That was really, really, like, undervalued, I think.
has to have a bad story.
Didn't have much replay value, but playing it, like, when it came out was fun.
Some of the best examples
Can you go back on cold ones? They don't do podcasts anymore. They don't. I do want to do a video with them, though.
of online
Is that a vape? Yeah, it's a vape. I'm just gonna... Yeah, I give up saying it's not a vape.
shooters that have good lore include Halo, Call of Duty, TF2, and I think Destiny.
You liked my art on Twitter and it made my day. Oh, best.
Before they deleted the campaign, I don't know. I don't think I'm qualified to speak on that game. But what I am qualified to speak on is Rainbow Six Siege and the complete nosedive its story took many years ago. Some games have lore that's so good they are renowned for it. Rainbow Six Siege is not one of those games. If you were to ask the average Siege player what was happening in the game's story right now, they'd probably say that zombies are besieging Ba Sing Se or something. Most players are too distracted with the amazing gameplay to care about the game's current story. And I don't blame them. I love this game. I play it more than I use my phone.
I know nothing about the lore of Six Siege. Like basically nothing. I know that there was some guy that was all of the operators' handler. And then he got killed off by like one of the new characters.
But is
Siege has a story. It does. And it tries to be super serious and grounded until it isn't. And then it just becomes like a comedy bit.
my rank? Let's just say it rhymes with
Like there was this one where they're fighting inside like an esports arena. It was crazy.
Whopper T. Most players are too
Also, notice how he says he plays Siege more than he uses his phone. Everyone that I know that plays Siege, they are scrolling TikTok on drone phase.
distracted with Siege's gameplay to care about its story. But if they were to take a peek into the lore that the Rainbow writers have created, they would find out that they have been missing out on some of the most dumb and convoluted writing I have ever seen. This stuff is worse than my aim. To understand the start of Rainbow Six Siege's lore, it's helpful to know about the overall franchise's history. The first Rainbow Six
Have you seen the picture of like someone was playing CSGO and they used a magnifying glass on their screen? Literally to help their aim. I would not be surprised if people that are playing Six Siege, they do this. They stick a magnifying glass in the middle of their monitor just to give them better aim.
title came out in 1998 based on the novel written by Tom Clancy.
Based?
Tom Clancy was an author known for his technically detailed and suspenseful military books, and the first Rainbow game was made to coincide release with its book, with Rainbow's novel and the game being released
I talked about this last stream, but the first Rainbow game is so good. Like the PS1 game.
During the same month. So from the
It's such a weird game though. Like you can't even see your gun. You're basically just like a floating crosshair.
From the start, serious and tactical themes were written into this franchise's DNA. And for a while, the game stayed that way.
It looks kind of like a game that I played as a kid that was really good. It was like a poor man's Metal Gear Solid. It was called Siphon Filter. That game was peak. It was so good.
With each sequel that came out maintaining the gritty atmosphere the original had established. Themes of secrecy, high stakes, and advanced tactics were stapled to the games. And when Rainbow Six Siege was announced, it seemed bent on maintaining that identity, with its trailer impressing fans with what looked like to be another modern and realistic take on the FPS genre. And for a while, that was what we...
Yeah, Siphon Filter was actually peak, bro. You heard the music in the game? Like, music like this should not go this hard for, like, 1996. It's not copyright. It's not copyright. Yeah, it was peak. It was peak.
God. However, it didn't stay that. Go onto my Xbox, I was already hyped. I had heard about the game's serious...
Oh my god, you're not calling it breakcore in chat. You're not. Oh my holy new gen. Goodness gracious. Breakcore.
Siege lore died when they got rid of the white masks and turned it into an Olympics-style training shitpost.
Yeah, they tried to make it more kind of like comedic and stuff because it's like, ooh, that gets more attention.
Reputation. I knew that the characters...
What's breakcore? It's basically anything where you see that troll face.
all wore subtle and practical uniforms. The energy of the game, both online and off...
Like, I get it. The game did need to evolve from just like gritty, ooh, everyone wears the same black tactical armor.
...was said to be nerve-wracking. And the opening cinematic...
But at the same time, it just went... They almost tried to do a Saints Row kind of thing, right? Like, Saints Row couldn't compete with GTA, so they had to basically make it more kind of funny and stylized. But, like, Siege wasn't really competing with anyone. They didn't have to do it.
Confirmed my assumptions with a grave message. Aurelia Arnott, a United States official, was addressing the game's threat. A group by the name of the White Masks had started to release dangerous gas in public places. According to Aurelia, this group could show up anywhere.
I remember playing the Siege training missions, and you can do this mission in co-op, and I could never find a game with anyone to do this mission. So I've never played this mission before.
In the world, and were indiscriminate about who they targeted. And Rainbow, an international counter-scarerist group, would now be reactivated to stop them. This was the story that Rainbow debuted with on launch. The White Masks were Siege's first antagonist. They were a very realistic and terrifying threat, and the mysterious lore surrounding them fit the franchise's brand perfectly. A faceless group that was using modern tactics to cause as much fear and destruction as possible, with Aurelia stating that the group was both physically and psychologically dangerous.
Yeah, okay, okay.
They didn't have any flair or standout characteristics, besides being serious about effectively carrying out their missions. And this was an
I'm amazed everyone's making the Pyro Commission joke and no one's pointing out that it looks like Nova 6.
Amazing choice because it worked perfectly with the gameplay. You see, when Siege first launched, it debuted with several PvE missions called situations. While these were removed presumably to cut server costs, they were once a big deal for a lot of players, mostly due to how much of a thrill it was to play against the lore-accurate White Masks. On the player side, Siege's gameplay was already much more measured than other shooters. You had to plan where you would deploy and...
I remember Crobecat did a video breaking this down, talking about how, like, Siege back then looks so much better than the Siege that we got. But I think what that video... Like, it's a really good video, but I think it misses the point that, like, what Ubisoft have always been renowned for are these, like, rehearsed... You know how, like, trailers do, like, you know, not actual gameplay? They don't do that. They go next level. They do gameplay so they can say it's gameplay, but it's all rehearsed. It's all scripted. Like, you'll never get games like that ever. It's literally meant to be, like, imagine that whoever's perspective it is, they're the cameraman, and they're filming a very rehearsed, choreographed, like, set kind of thing.
Were encouraged to move at a
And they always have, like, the most cringiest, like, voiceovers and stuff. They did it for that game, that third-person game in New York, where there's a virus and you go into the dark zone for PvP.
Pace. Combine this with any sort of enemy and you would have a game feel that is already intense.
It's like how Ubisoft do bull shots. You guys know what that is? It's like where you get an image in game and then you Photoshop it to the point that it doesn't even look real. Like that one there. Like that's not in the game. It looks like it's in the game, but it's not. It's been so like changed and photo. Ah, here's another one as well. This one, this Far Cry one. Like that does not happen in the game. You've got a reload animation. You've upscaled the balls out of it. You've photoshopped in this badger chasing Herc. Like, and the worst thing is they can say it's real because they obviously did get a screenshot of this in game, but they've added in so much like Photoshop that it's just not even a real image anymore. But they can say it's in the game because it's like a loophole thing.
But the amazing part was that the mysterious and intimidating lore surrounding Rainbow's enemies was reflected in their behavior. The White Masks acted just as ruthless as they had been hyped
Oh my god, the suicide bombers are actually so funny in that game, genuinely.
up to be, using all sorts of heartless tactics to stop you. They would throw stun grenades, gather up in groups to more effectively hunt you down, charge you with human creepers, or just stay stationary waiting.
We got Ark using AI. I watched that yesterday. It looked terrible. It's not even like they went over... Like, that bullshot there with Ubisoft, at least they got an actual image and then went over it and fine-tuned it. Like, Ark just had it all in AI. They probably cooked that up in, like, 2 hours. No joke.
For you to turn around the corner. You could
They were like, wait, we did all this in 2 hours? This is great. We should do this for everything.
hear them communicating and breathing heavily the moment before they snuck up on you. And of course, their most evil tactic would be to use human bait as well as their other signature threats. This was a great experience because the lore and gameplay were intertwined perfectly, just as they always should be. It was extremely scary to face the White Masks, and oftentimes the only way to outsmart them was through communicating with your teammates and using clever tactics. On the multiplayer side, you could assume that
Yeah, I think the bull shots are like kind of... it's like a loophole thing because, you know, when like a game says at the bottom, not actual gameplay, it's like how when you see like a gambling website and it says gamble aware, it's like they have to do that as a legality thing. And I feel like with the bull shots, they don't have to do that, so that's why they do it so much.
every game you went into was practice against them. That
In-game engine footage. Oh, it's such a cope, right? Yeah. I love when they do that, like in-game engine footage. Like, you know, it's just like... When they say that, they basically mean that they've captured it all within the engine, but it's not possible to run it on any hardware.
keeping everything tied together and immersive. And
Yeah, no, it's meant to be like reminiscent of the thing. That's the entire point.
you could argue that being immersed in such a high-stakes scenario caused players to be more enthusiastic about engaging with the game the way it was intended. What I mean by that is more strategic and less running into the sight like they're the main character. We see a lot of that today in Copper, where I may or may not live. Because the game respected itself, the community was at least encouraged to respect it too. But as the story started to conclude, the White Masks eventually got tired of being dunked on by Rainbow and planned one final attack. Titled Article 5, it was the last scenario of the PvE category, and the developers had made quite an impressive finale. The entire map was contaminated with gas, and as a player, your HUD represented a hazmat suit. It was a truly unique scenario. This would be the last hurrah for Rainbow's initial PvE experience, both gameplay and lore-wise.
Am I tripping, or like couldn't that hazmat get like shattered? Oh no, I'm thinking of the Black Ops campaign with the Nova 6 actually.
As the game would quickly take a much different direction. But not knowing this, many players were excited to see what kind of scenarios like this would come next.
Saying Pyro Room in chat is crazy, by the way.
Unfortunately, we'd never get something like this campaign again. It's difficult to explain what exactly happened to the lore's direction after this. At first, the game's writers seemed to be taking a well-earned break. With the lore put on pause, a game building on its map and gameplay pool, specifically 8 of which were added before the game's lore was expanded.
I don't know what's worse, this game's lore or Call of Duty's. Call of Duty's kind of sucks because they kill off characters in the campaign and they're like, wait, nope. Bring them back. We need them in Warzone.
Outside of just introducing new characters. The 9th major update, Operation Chimera, would be the first to change things up, bringing with it the fan-favorite Outbreak event that brought new PvE gameplay. This provided additional lore to the game, albeit against a much less realistic threat. First of all, none of Outbreak is considered canon to the main game. It actually takes place in an alternate timeline, and none of it builds on the real world's lore. Second, going from a serious, the Batman Riddler type threat, to mutated alien zombies is quite the jump. Nothing like this had ever been done in the Rainbow
Thank you, Hort, for the $5.
franchise's games or novels, and it was quite the experimental decision. But despite it being less traditional,
I like this. This reminded me of that extraction mode in COD Ghosts. That was really good. I like that a lot.
I can say that this was a solid addition to Siege, both gameplay and lore-wise. The story was handled quite well, as it brought back Aurelia into the story, with Ashe having to call her up to once again authorize Rainbow, as they were not allowed to
Extinction, that's right.
enter the scene without clearance.
Well, you guys didn't like Extinction?
Keeping things
What's the worst zombies horde mode in COD? Wasn't it Exo Zombies? Wasn't that the worst one?
surprisingly in line with
There was one that was just horrendous and everyone hated. Maybe it was World War II. Thank you, Baconator, for the 30.
the game's inspiration. As Tom Clancy once described it, the core idea of his books were operators who were highly skilled, disciplined, honest,
Vanguard Zombies? Ah, true.
thoroughly professional,
grim.
and only lost their cool when incompetent politicians or bureaucrats got in their way. And
Congrats
Ashe having
on
to
the
get
baby.
permission from
I'm
the
not
government
having a
to
kid.
approach a new threat very much maintains Clancy and the Rainbow franchise's original vision. From a gameplay perspective, it was also popular enough to get a spin-off game developed, releasing much later in the future. However, no matter how you feel about the Outbreak event, it was only a limited time event, and wasn't meant to stay around for long anyways. However, once it was over, things dramatically and horribly changed for the worst. Because from here on out, the lore is about to go from consistent to having a complete identity crisis. It is said that around 2020, the White Masks were defeated once and for all. Although a few of them were said to still be scattered across the world, their organization in the lore was considered dissolved. And with their story over, this is where the lore would go into a renaissance. A bad renaissance. It was said that having neutralized the White Masks, Aurelia moved on to be promoted to Secretary of State. And with this came a huge transfer of leadership as she handed over Rainbow to her colleague Harry. Now, if there's any way I can describe Harry, it's that he represented the new direction of Siege. And by that I mean, he was responsible for everything that went horribly wrong. The first thing he did was completely turn the program on its head by creating a concept for a massive sports arena, a location where the program would now mostly take place. Inside of this arena, the operators were now treated like celebrities.
Oh no, this sucked. I actually remember this. I was like, what the hell are they doing? This is like Fortnite, man.
As the arena had been filled with thousands of fans.
Yeah, so you stopped a terrorist threat. Can you guys just run around on a field for a couple hours? Cheers.
This was
Thank you, Hort, for the 3. Here's more money for the baby. Thank you. Thank you, Jeb, for joining.
not just an arena for training, but was apparently also meant to entertain the masses, which is an interesting combination for such a confidential society to have. The operators were tasked with living in and fighting against each other in the arena, where they used BB guns and sim suits to play for.
The cinematic was really well done. No, it was. The cinematic was amazing. But it's just like, why?
Points on a scoreboard, with a commentator included.
Like, this animation definitely cost millions of dollars.
To hype up the fans.
Operators, this is match point. Only one defender remaining. 3 attackers remaining.
This is Rocket League!
They were also interviewed and had talking heads like The Office, and the shift in tone had taken a complete 180.
Gustave Kateb, GIGN, National Gendarmerie Intervention.
G'day.
Do I look at you or the camera?
Mike Baker, Special Air Service.
Seamus Calden, Sanitation.
Why is this like Parks and Recreation, man? What is going on?
So why would Rainbow, a covert organization that uses
Also, I remember playing Cav, and then they added Knock. Like, Knock was my favorite operator of all time. And then they nerfed her into oblivion, by the way, by removing the silent step. So when she cloaks now, she still makes noise. Absolutely unplayable, bro.
cutting-edge technology, and secret national techniques do this? Why would they go from focusing on a realistic threat to playing Airsoft Olympics? There is not a good explanation.
Nah, she was really good, though. Like, the character design was really cool, and then she had the little MP7 or MP9, and then she had a deagle as a sidearm. Like, her loadout was just perfect. And then she had the auto shotgun as well. That was absolute trash. Like, I don't know why she was given that.
It was bad writing done to cash in on esports. Here is the reasoning for the dramatic shift according to the lore. Harry had moved Rainbow to this stadium, one, so that Rainbow could train for a wider range of real-world scenarios, you know, by making them train in a paintball stadium, and two,
They nearly removed explosives from an explosive type operator. I remember seeing this chart in like comp games. Everyone picked, who is it? The trans woman, the one that can like, she projects her own like hologram that's used to bait people. I forget her name. But yeah, like she had a grenade, and solely because of that grenade, she was the most picked character, or had like the best KD across all the statistics.
Unite them.
Yeah, Yana, that's right.
Them as a team by also having them live together in it, and basically always work together in teams. This story direction doesn't work, and his plan fails horribly on both of these goals, and he dies. But that's not really Harry's fault as much as it is the writers. Think of Harry as like a scapegoat for the direction that Ubisoft wanted to move Rainbow towards. He's basically like a self-insert for the writers trying to put themselves inside the story so they can directly change what Siege is about. So what...
Oh my god, this on Gez League thing is so unfunny. Stop spamming it.
Are the real developers' reasons for doing this? According to narrative director Alex Lima, the decision to phase out Siege's counter-scarist narrative was so that they could pursue a more comprehensive and scalable story. Apparently, making the game's lore revolve around Call of Duty Olympics achieves this. When it comes to making the story more comprehensive, I don't know about you, but soldiers fighting against real-world threats is a lot easier to grasp than soldiers competing in stadiums for points with...
I hope this character dies. Like, I got compared to her so much, even though it just looked nothing alike. And also that goddamn shield she can deploy, man. Like, anytime she peeks you, you're dead. Even if you're already peeking her.
Live spectators. The whole thing feels impractical, and like the writers don't know which world this story takes place in. Why are there people watching this? Aren't all these operations using highly confidential technology? Don't they have identities to protect? Isn't this a bit of a risk? Alright everybody, I'm glad all of our best agents and 50,000 people could be here. This is gonna be a fun one. I packed some extra orange slices. Okay. The lore might be a little bit out there, but at least it accomplished its goal of being scalable. Rainbow is clearly just laying down the foundation for a story that will be built on for the rest of the game's lifespan. They wouldn't just go out with such a dramatic system if it wasn't scalable like
It's just so obvious they wanted to give them bigger
You mentioned The Division. The Dark Zone was so fun. The extraction mode was actually done so well. There's a video about it. Really made me remember the atmosphere and vibe of the game was so good. It was just tainted with Ubisoft slop.
Thank you, Cohen, for the 15. Yeah, I've heard loads of people say The Division sucks, but they always would agree the Dark Zone is really good.
Wanted it to be. As it turns out, it was not scalable, because just recently the writers killed off its mascot. So no more Wipeout, everybody.
It's just so obvious with this game, though. They wanted to try and be more mainstream and be like, let's break out the gritty. Because every other game that's successful has, like, big, standout, larger-than-life characters.
Buddy, sorry. How did this happen? How did we lose the Steve Jobs of gaming? Well, I'm happy to say it's a hilariously convoluted series of events. I'm talking Marvel Civil War levels of buildup, because the guy who did this is exactly like...
Thank you, Justin, for the 2 community gifted. Appreciate it, man.
Like Baron Zemo. After starting their new program, Harry decided to hire Nighthaven, a similar organization to Rainbow, except for the fact that it uses more ruthless and risky tactics. Nighthaven and Rainbow actually have a...
Yeah, I noticed they cut down the budget as well, right? They went from like the huge Blur Studio 3D animations to like more traditional 2D.
lot of inherent conflicting worldviews.
They still look really good though.
They do not like each other, and they do not do things the same. It's basically a ripoff of Talon from Overwatch. During their first tournament, because Rainbow does annual tournaments now, Ash, the leader of Rainbow, and Callie, the leader of Nighthaven, get put on the same team by Harry, because he knows that they don't like each other, so this should help.
Also, one thing that really annoys me is Sam Fisher in 6 Siege. He's not voiced by Michael Ironside that voiced Sam Fisher in the actual Splinter Cell games. I did read online that he was like really ill and he had cancer for a while, but yeah, I really wish he was able to voice in that.
You look 5 months pregnant. Can you stand up to show the progress? And will you be streaming the delivery?
Thank you, Meowster Pyro, for the 10. Yeah, as you can see, I'm actually the baby's coming along quite well. The baby's actually coming along quite well. You can definitely see here. You know, progress is looking good. I'm just committing to the bit, bro. It's over.
Great idea, Harry. I hope this doesn't cause a butterfly effect that ironically leads to your own end. During a particularly critical round, Callie decides to use Ash and Dokkaebi as bait to secure the W. She also skids a shot
E-boy pants, while you're sat here watching the stream in your boxers, shut up.
Through Ash's face, which is kind of concerning because why isn't Ash wearing a helmet if the supposed BB bullets can do this? What if someone accidentally hits a headshot on her? That seems like an incredible health and safety risk. After that kerfuffle, Ash is upset because of what Callie did, and she's
Why are we so formal? We're streaming. Bro tries to dress up nice one time.
brooding about it in the bathroom when she hears Callie lecturing the other operators about how in this line of work, you can't be worried about safety. And sometimes, you gotta bend the rules to secure the win. And Ash gets so mad that she storms into the other room and starts telling Callie off. She tells her that she doesn't know how they do it in Nighthaven, but here at Rainbow, you can't use people as bait. Callie tells her that it's just a game, which it is, and Ash punches her. The room then proceeded to break out into chaos, as the operators split up into two sides of the room.
Oh my god, they're doing like Avengers, man. They're doing like a Civil War bit here.
Literally picking sides. And by the next cinematic, Nighthaven decides to leave Rainbow. An incredibly short run. It's almost like they were only here so the Rainbow writers could use them to cook up conflict. So as you can see, the game's writers are really going heavy on the internal beef angle. They're basically just
What if all the good guys had le fight between let each other, but then they all le make up at let end?
stirring up drama out of nowhere. Even Ella and Zofia, who for a long time coexisted as sisters, started to get more hostile.
I don't know anyone that played this woman, to Ella. I don't know anyone that played her, except people that were gooners, because she had latex pants on. That was the only reason that people picked her, genuinely.
Towards each other, with the arena being fuel for their rivalry. They basically get retconned into always having hated each other, and Ella leaves Zofia behind to join Nighthaven along with a bunch of other operators. Then Callie lectures Ella about how she made the right choice. Great job, Harry. This arena has really done its job of bringing
She was the best operator on release. Cope. Absolute cope. You're just a gooner. Absolute cope.
everybody together.
You saw the latex pants and you were like...
You have really done some good team building. A true peacemaker. This sort of Civil War narrative has actually been done in quite a few other games before. Overwatch has always had a lot of this in its lore with the heroes not getting along. Apex Legends had some beef, and I think Valorant too, maybe. You can tell that they also moved the operators into the stadium so that they could have a good environment for these arguments.
I'm dumb and one.
Because if they were still mostly focused on actually stopping criminals, there wouldn't be any time for these petty differences.
She has a smaller hitbox. Absolute he's smoking an actual copium pipe right now.
But now, because they're inside a safe environment, everyone can have fights without compromising any missions, which makes the Olympics direct.
I mean, I played Cav for a little bit. Like, she was based. Like, the silent step, if you camp in the corner with the pistol, then you down someone that gets a little bit greedy and they're trying to, like, solo on their own. Interrogate. Snitched. I swear, man, Nock was the best character in the entire game. Genuinely. Until they nerfed her. I will never forgive that Nock nerf. They nerfed her into absolute oblivion. I'll see if I can pull it up now. Right here on Reddit. On Reddit, they're crying about it. Remove silent step. The whole point of her character is to be stealthy. And then they remove the stealth aspect. I rarely see Nock played. Yeah, like, I've never had competition with someone in a public game that picked Nock before me. Never.
Even more ridiculous.
Because no one wants to play her. Like, she sucks now.
But things get much worse. The introduction for Azami, a new operator, follows these events. And
someone in chat said, Reddit crying? No way.
In her animated short, we get the lore that her boss, and I guess dear friend, was murked in front of her eyes. And she visits her friend Habana, who is still on Rainbow's side by this point, to show her that the bullets used were labeled Nighthaven property. So rather than jump to conclusions, the Rainbow folks track down the mercenaries who killed Azami's boss to see if they can figure out who ordered them. But it turns out the mercenaries were bait, and a helicopter starts shooting at all the Rainbow operators. And they're all like, oh man.
I feel like I'm watching the end of Evangelion here. It's like they started off with 3D animations and they go to 2D and now it's just a comic. It'll be like concept art next.
Sure this is the work of Nighthaven. We haven't gotten any more evidence since that bullet, but if this is Nighthaven, we're mad, so
are you multi-streaming? Yeah.
Might as well be Nighthaven. And so they decide to fully jump to conclusions by deciding to infiltrate Nighthaven's HQ. But when Nock does a sloppy job escaping, Nighthaven finds out she was poking around their base and tracks her down. Nock was tracked down. The invisible stealth operator, the one whose only ability in Siege is being invisible on cameras, was caught on camera. And then
woman who doesn't have her name or date of birth anywhere on system, by the way.
Then tracked down by bees. And so Grim from Nighthaven pays a visit to her and threatens her, and that's actually all the retaliation that happens. Like, you thought this would launch a big conflict, but no, he just tells her, like, don't do it again or I'll come for you. And that's it. Rainbow just decides that it probably wasn't Nighthaven after all. Then Rainbow decides to go to Nighthaven again, but this time just to tell them to stay.
Oh, my second wife. What's her name? Solace? Oh no, she's based actually. No, she's my favorite defender. The they did nerf her a bit as well. Well, they keep nerfing all the characters that I main, but like she could do this thing where she can see all the tech that people are using, like wiping out drones in drone phase. Anyone coming in with like oh, that's why Nock became so bad, because Solace can just see her like straight away. Like she's awful.
Out of their business and give Solus a cool moment to shine. And then they realize both of their gear has been stolen this entire time because someone else has apparently been messing with both teams. So all of their conflict
Paramain's any woman with a mask, Lamau.
Was pointless.
Okay, it's just coincidence.
This is horrible. But literally none of it matters
Hibana, best operator. Holy Guna.
because it turns out it was all a guy named Deimos. He had orchestrated everything.
Dude, I'll be honest, Deimos' character sucks. His ability is terrible. It's like, oh, bro, you want to 1v1 me? In a 5v5 game? No, I'm good.
All along.
Okay.
This guy then visits Harry, tries and fails to take out Rainbow operatives in front of him, and then tells Harry that old Rainbow was better and shoots him. Deimos is basically the Siege's community personified.
You know, Rainbow used to be feared in my time. A covert unit of apex killers, and you turned it into the ice capades.
Everybody then tracks down.
He's shown all the people dying and all the people being shot, but I'm very happy he censored out that F word there.
Deimos down and captures him. So that is the lore with a lot of filler cut out, because as you can see, there's already just so much nonsense in it. They were clearly just making pointless storylines to draw out the lore, so they wouldn't have.
No way Pyro loves Solace, but hates Deimos. I mean, no, Deimos sucks, sorry. Solace, better operator. She's got the P90 and a fat ass. Like you just can't argue with it.
To worry about actually doing anything that had a big impact.
You can't argue with it.
But the worst part is how the lore is not compatible with the game itself. First of all, if Nighthaven and Rainbow never really got along, how come they trained together in-game? You could explain this by saying that the game takes place at a time when the two forces were briefly in harmony before or after their conflict. But that doesn't explain Deimos being a playable character. We haven't got a lot of information about Deimos' plan. All that we know is that he thinks Rainbow is too soft and wants to kill all the operators. But now he plays alongside them in their games, whether it's in the Wipeout Stadium or anywhere else. He trains with his worst enemies. In his introduction video, the devs were like, yes, Deimos hates Rainbow.
What type of plant is that behind you? It's a tree.
But he's not really a part of the team, guys. He's just agreeing to practice with them forever. Mocks Rainbow for being basically Airsoft. Becomes part of the Airsoft team. Oh, the irony. As you can see, the developer's decision to change Siege's narrative led to more problems than it solved.
I'm guessing if I go on the... Hang on. Because Reddit always just becomes a hive mind of complaining. I want to see if there's like any positivity on the subreddit. Just spotted this in the window. I mean, that's based. Was hired by Ubisoft to make the gadgets. Oh, okay, it's not complaining. It's not complaining. Whoa! Whoa, 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 whoa! 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 We just allowed that in the game? What? Oh, mein Gott und Himmel! Why? What? Why have you got that in the game? That's in the game? Nah, that's fake. That's fake. That has to be fake. Bro, they put the Kanye gun.
Hey, Pyro.
Was I queuing and it crap? You got to gold? Dude, I don't think I got out of toilet. I think the highest rank I ever got was like silver 3. On PC, it's just too sweaty. It's too sweaty on PC. Can't do it. Can't do it. It's just pixel peekers. The reputation system is mostly effective. People don't like taking responsibility for their actions. Holy Redditor. Oh, my Reddit. I can never get exemplary. I always get like the second best rank. Like I never team kill or anything. Wait, luckiest headshot. Okay, 0, 0. 0's good. Nice quality, by the way. Okay, let's see this. Common pre-fire. He's just gonna aim. Yep. Very, yep. Very common pre-fire, unfortunately. You were just in a bad position. Very, very common pre-fire there. You really should have seen that coming. Oh, nice jump scare. One thing I want to ask chat, any sieges in here? What's the hype around Black Eyes? Why do people like soy face over Black Eyes skins? I don't get it. I've got so many Black Eyes skins and it's just like, okay, it's not even a legendary. Siege timing? Oh no, siege timing is the worst. You will cover an angle for like 90 seconds. The second you look away, they push. He's gonna look away and get shot. This is me every game. Yeah. And there we have it. I mean, you would have missed anyway. Let's be real, mate. Let's be real. It's like a blue gem.
Solved. The lore was poorly strategized as it led to the developers having trouble explaining why it doesn't line up with gameplay, and the pacing itself was also super disjointed.
Stop hitting the weed pen. I like how it's evolved from a vape to a weed pen now.
And it feels like it took years for anything to happen. The stadium basically acted as an
okay, dude, the one on the far right, dude, they just look like ghosts from Modern Warfare, literally.
Environment for the...
I have seen a scary amount of women on TikTok that are just simping for Ghost. Like, it is absolutely insane.
These silly stories to play out, and then couldn't be scaled anymore and was scrapped. Had Rainbow continued in its original direction, not only would it have been more coherent, but the stakes would be higher and fans would be more engaged. There are plenty of directions you could go with real-world...
Oh yeah, it looks like Hicks from Death Stranding as well. Oh yeah, that bottom one with the gold as well, what the hell?
...antagonists that would have actually lifted gameplay up too. A new group of scarers that target tech could make levels where you can't use anything electric. And more levels like Article 5 would challenge players in new and interesting ways. The writers could also have those same dramatic emotions they wanted to stir up with Nighthaven, but in a much more engaging way to audiences. Just make it so Ash is brooding because the new opposition is causing her to doubt Rainbow's capabilities. Something like that would not only be more interesting, but it would also tie in with the game, raising the stakes around the organization instead of making it a recreational Nerf club. Lore and story are a critical part of a community's engagement with a game, and fans had been begging to return to Siege's more serious narrative ever since it was abandoned. The problem...
It's actually crazy how, like, when Far Cry 5 came out, everyone thought it was really mid, but now everyone's done a complete 180 saying it's one of the better games. It's not Far Cry 3 good, but they're saying it's like... Oh, that's right, because after 3 was peak, 2 was the best one, but it had more that didn't work. 3 was the best one overall because it was streamlined, but it was missing some features from 2. 4 was like kind of... Okay, this is basically DLC. 5 was like, ooh, actually like more engaging story. God, do you remember RJ from Far Cry 4? No one remembers RJ from Far Cry 4, by the way. It was a trick question. The guy spoke, but he basically had less character than the deputy, who was purposely a mute in 5.
Going back to a more serious threat would mean that Ubisoft would have to spend resources on making more single-player gameplay. We don't want to do that, dude. That would take money.
What about Primal? I played Primal when I was a kid, because that came out like over 10 years ago. That was okay. That was okay. Primal was okay. I kept thinking there'd be a secret gun you could pick up, and I just never found it, and I was like, oh, this sucks.
We're more interested in appealing to...
my family, my brothers, my sisters, they've been taken from me by a snake in the garden. I like the bit where he's doing the monologue, and he's like, I thought I knew God's plan.
Esports. And cutting costs by removing all traces of PvE
Holy
gameplay
Lalo Salamanca.
while we're at it. Although...
Wait, Lalo Salamanca's in Siege?
Ask any esports player what they think of Stadium, and they'll probably tell you it's their least favorite map. It's not even in the ranked...
When's the new main channel video? End of the month.
...map pool. I really don't have any high expectations for this game's story.
Yeah, that's...
This Pyro. My username is US Marine. I'm either going to be an actual US serviceman deserving of your respect, or I'm going to be some crackhead donating the most rancid shit. Call it.
I think you're going to be a US Marine. Enjoy boarding the plane first in America.
story, because clearly the narrative department
Yeah, the stadium map is absolute dog water, by the way. Like, I've never known a worse map in Siege, genuinely.
of Siege has no idea what they're doing. Of course, in a game like Rainbow, lore is not the final say in a game's
Joseph Sneed. I've never known anyone to actually call him his actual surname. It's either Joseph Sneed or Joseph Snot.
success at all. This game is doing very well, and it clearly didn't need its half-baked world building to do so. But judging it strictly from a writing perspective, this game's lore and overall story is a failure. It's not well written or interesting.
I think they can bring it back, but at the same time, it's just been so, like, it's been so Fortnite-ified now. It's not a word, I just made up that word.